The Walking Dead, a new frontier. Is it worth a buy? Let's read the words of the developer. When family is all you have left, how far will you go to protect it? After society was ripped apart by undead hands, pockets of civilians emerge from the chaos. But at what cost? Can the living be trusted on this new frontier?
First thing I want to say, guys, just so you know, this review is absolutely spoiler free. I give nothing away whatsoever. There's nothing in this at all. You can watch this totally spoiler free. Now, I think it's been 2 years since they've continued the main story, which is a long time, and I have kind of missed it, but I think for me it's starting to lose its fizz a bit. The first ever Walking Dead was brilliant, with Lee as the main protagonist, and he rescued Clementine, the little girl who lost her parents, and the whole series was about the relationship bonding between Lee and Clementine, and it was brilliant. And then new characters came in that carried on into the second part, characters such as Kenny, Frank, Ben. Or actually, Frank didn't exist, I just kept calling him Frank. But the whole way the story was in the first two series of The Walking Dead was just brilliant. And it's a bit like in the actual TV show, it kind of got a bit boring for me by the third series. I actually stopped watching The Walking Dead after season 2, I believe. It just got too bleh. And I haven't enjoyed season 3, A New Frontier, as much as any of the previous seasons, and I think it's getting a bit too long in the tooth now. Clementine is a bit more grown up. She has boobs, and she's probably like a teenager now, and she's a badass because she's been brought up to be a badass. She was just a little girl in in season 1, and she's witnessed a lot of death, destruction, and zombies, and so she can really look after herself. She's a real badass now, which is quite good. But the problem with this game is that you keep getting new groups to play around with, and it's like it's becoming like the adventures of Clementine surrounded by a new group of people that's all probably going to die by the end of the series, and it needs something else. And but I'm not going to give you any spoilers of this, but with this one, The New Frontier, it's kind of like about a group of people calling themselves the New Frontier, and you have to decide whether they are good or bad people, and that's what it all kind of revolves around. It's quite brutal. There's a lot of people dying, as you would expect. Some of the people in your group will inevitably die, and there's nothing you can do about it. It railroads you into these situations. You do get a bit of a choice as to what you're going to do. In shootouts, for example, you can decide whether you're going to shoot or whether you're just going to talk or whether you're going to surrender. I don't know what happens if you do different things, because obviously I've only played it through once and my decisions were set, so I don't know what would happen if you did different decisions. But what I do know is that I've played the game for 2.5 hours, and I've completed episode 1 and 2 of season 3, and there are only 5 episodes, so you're not getting a lot of game for £18.99. I'd probably say it's about 6 to 7 hours max. What you do get is a very good story, though. You always get a good story with these games. The story is pretty much better than any other online novel thing that's going around. The actual action in these is better, but what I have noticed is that if you go back and play The Walking Dead Season 1, you will find loads more interaction than there is now. It's almost like the developers are kind of, just tell them a story. Just tell them a fucking story. It's like, we don't want to give you any interaction here, There's a kitchen knife over there, but we'll just pick it up for you and stab the zombie. There's a zombie coming there, but I just press E 5 times. There's 5 zombies. It'll kill them all. It's lazy. I'm detecting laziness in this. If you watched my playthrough of season 1 of The Walking Dead, you will see a hell of a lot more interaction, a hell of a lot more puzzles. In this, we had a situation which could have been pretty bad, and there was only one solution to it, and the solution was right in front of you. And there used to be like in a kitchen, and you'd have to search every cupboard and find stuff, and it was a lot more immersive. That's what's missing now from the New Frontier. It is not as immersive as the first two. There's nowhere near enough interactions as you had in the first two. It's more of a game on rails where you're just sitting watching the story just flesh out with very little interaction. Yes, you make the core decisions, but you know, you're really just sitting watching it. You might as well be watching a movie, and for that reason I'm not really inclined to thumb it up for $18.99, which is a bit of a shame because this has been a fantastic game. Like I say, the first two seasons were just brilliant. Some really good characters, and that's another thing. There's no really well written characters just popping out in this. It's stereotypical bloody people. It's there's no real menacing characters. There's no real standout person that you think, wow, he's just great, you know. And that's disappointing because there always has been in the previous two seasons. I really did struggle to get immersed in this. They're losing their touch. I don't know if it's been directed by a different person, but this is not up to the standard of the Telltale Games stories, in my opinion anyway. I would wait until this is a lot cheaper if you're going to go into it, unless you've actually played the other two all the way through and you just want to continue the story of Clementine's adventures. But to me, it's just lost a bit of its magic. So I'm going to thumb this down so far, but I will be coming back at the end when episodes 3, 4 and 5 have been released, and I'll do one final overview. But so far we've only had the first 2 episodes released and I'm not massively impressed with it. So there you go guys, The Walking Dead: A New Frontier. It's a bit